Hey, it's Mason here from Graphics Master with your ninth tutorial. And in this tutorial, I'm going to cover the pen tool and stroke paths. Okay, so let's just open a new file here. Go to New, File New, and name it Pen Test, or whatever you want it to be. And you can make it whatever size you want. I'm just going to do 10 by 14 inches for now. And you can leave your res at 72. Maximize that. Okay. So now we're just going to make this easier by painting the background black and making the foreground color a nice light blue. Okay, now the pen tool, I think I've gone over this in another tutorial, but not as well. I'm going to go over it in this entire tutorial now. Pen tool is this one here, or P on the keyboard. And basically, whenever you make an anchor point, it makes a shape. And you can either use that to select and make a selection in which to paint, or what else you can do with the brush, or the pen tool rather. Is let's get rid of this. You can also do curves with the pen tool. So if you click here and then drag, hold and drag here, you can make a curve, which is very useful for selecting circles or ellipses. And then you just click over there to close it off. And you can make a selection there. And you can paint inside that. And that looks pretty weird. Now, one of the good things about the pen tool, one of the things I like that I use often, is, well, stroke paths. So let's go back to the pen tool here. And let's make a nice curved line. There we go. Now, while we've got this pen tool area here, just right click. Instead of choosing make selection, go to stroke path. And make sure that it's on paintbrush. You can put it on dodge or whatever, and it'll. What this does is basically it will fill that path with paintbrush, but you can also just erase from that path. You can clone stamp that path, history brush that path, smudge it, blur it, sharpen it, dodge, burn, or sponge. All this stuff. I normally just use it for paintbrush. It's really useful with the other ones as well. And you'll notice that now we've got this weird path here that you can't really tell it's a path because, well, pretty much it goes from whatever the paintbrush is at. So let's just change the size down to maybe a 21. Nah, 100 is good. And also it goes by color. So if I make the color like a red, dark red, then you can go back to the pen tool and make a nice curvy path like that, and right click, stroke path, paintbrush, and when you hit the check mark, there's your stroke path. Now another thing you can do here is just go back, go to the pen tool, and just make a weird shape like that. And you can right click and go fill path. And you can change the opacity, the mode, feather radius is pretty much blur. And use the foreground color or the background color. You can use whatever here. I'm going to use the foreground color because I want it in red. Hit OK. normal. We do that. Check mark it. And there we go. It also fills in paths to make weird shapes. Here. So. Okay, so let's get rid of that. And let's create a new layer here. Create a new layer. And yeah, okay. Back to the pen tool. And just make a weird path. And now, let's just do another fill path. Or rather, stroke path. There we go. Double click on layer, and you can mess around with some of this stuff here. Now this stuff is really fun to mess around with, and I'm just going to go over this really quickly. Let's go to outer glow. Click on that. Make sure that's check marked if you want to use it. And let's go to gradient here. And just choose a gradient that you wanted that. Like, I think it's good as it is. And that does a cool effect there. And that only works, it doesn't work on background layers, it only works on a new layer. Let's double click again. And we're adding effects here. Let's go to inner glow. And I'll just, you can choose either a gradient or just one color. So I'm going to make a color like, maybe blue, light blue, inside the red. And you can mess around with some of this stuff, but I think all this is fine right now. And that does something cool. So just keep going through that. And there's Val, Emboss, Drop Shadow. All this stuff you can mess around with. Alright, well that's pretty much all I'm going to cover in this tutorial. Thanks for watching.